My interest was stimulated by a recent group relations conference that I was on staff of it was called Authority, Leadership and Power, the Exploration of Lateral and Vertical Dynamics. So the lateral was created in the structure by having two directors, so there was kind of a lateral built into the hierarchical, or at least the vertical, as it's often experienced by membership. The emphasis on the exploration of lateral and vertical dynamics really did make a big difference, I think, to what people were learning and what they were exploring. And the idea of disruptive innovation was very present, I think, in people's minds and their experience in terms of an alternative way of thinking about the dynamics of the system. A number of times when an event occurred that might previously have been interpreted as an attack on the group, or an attack on the directorship, or an attack on leadership, that was subsequently experienced and understood to be, in fact, an innovation. A specific example of that in the group relations context was the large group system, where it's often the case that the desire of members to move chairs would be considered perhaps an attack on the process or an attack on the system. In this case, one member who people had experienced as disruptive actually got up and said, "I'm not removing myself from the room, but I'm removing myself from the spiral." And there was something about that which was initially experienced as destructive, but later proved to be enabling of the group to get on with its work. In another example, in the institutional event, the consulting group came up with an alternative design for the event and the inclusion of a social dreaming matrix, which hadn't been designed into the event. And the initial reaction of management was that this was merely an attack or something kind of destructive. And again, that was reinterpreted as disruptive innovation and proved extremely useful to the learning of the members and to the conference as a whole. The originating idea for it came from the membership, and so I think it was a response of the consulting staff to, if you like, a groundswell of need and interest and some desire for the expression of something, and the social dreaming matrix was a response to that. It had been named by members. I think the insight's not meant to be an idealisation of lateral self-organising groups, because it proved that having some vertical in the management and the staff of the membership still proved containing and important as we've understood it. We had these examples, if you like, of creative innovation. I mean, we also had the experience of a much more heightened level of envious relations and real and destructive attacks going on at that lateral level. I think what occurred was it was experienced very forcefully as an attack. So much so that it was a kind of trigger event where the directors, you might say, even in that moment, lost their minds. Your question about supporting managers to tolerate the anxiety associated with any nature of change is very key and core to our work. And I think the question keeps getting raised, and it's as if the answer that we've known for a long time is forgotten. And, I feel like I disappoint managers, or I disappoint audiences by saying it is as simple as creating the space for reflection and dialogue. And, coming back to the conference, and, it's as if within our own established order, there is a pressure to be saying, the conference is tired, the conference, or even our practices, our methods, our ways of doing things. And yet, if it's stripped back to its essential elements, I think it returns to about providing opportunities to hold, contain the anxiety of managers, of staff in organisations, sufficient that they can tolerate the unknown and the opportunity for learning. We struggle with this constant dilemma of finding it difficult to describe what the essence of that is. On the one hand, it's extremely simple. And on the other, I think what it enables as a learning experience, the mechanics of that are quite complex. I think the movement of time in the transformation of something being experienced as destructive attack to disruptive innovation, there's a reflective process. Will this particular idea or this disruption that as a management we're experiencing as destructive also contain the seeds for a different way of working?